welcome to ESPN's presentation of baseball's greatest hits. In the course of the next 30 minutes, in conjunction with Major League Baseball Productions, we'll be bringing you a look at the decade of the 1940s in Major League Baseball, a decade that saw some unbelievable performances. Welcome to ESPN's presentation of baseball's greatest hits. In the course of the next 30 minutes, in conjunction with Major League Baseball Productions, we'll be bringing you a look at the decade of the 1940s in Major League Baseball, a decade that saw some unbelievable performances, like Joe DiMaggio's record 56-game hitting streak. There was the electrifying performance of Ted Williams in the 1946 All-Star Game. Then there was Stan Musial, who emerged as possibly the most dominant player of the decade of the 40s. There were those specific moments that made Mickey Owen and Enos Slaughter household names in the history books of Major League Baseball. And, of course, there was a great moment for Jackie Robinson as he became baseball's first black. When we return, Warner Fussell will take us through the beginning of the 1940s.
In 1941, Joe DiMaggio accomplished the near impossible. The Yankee Clipper amazed the baseball world when he established a Major League record by hitting safely in 45 consecutive games, and he didn't stop there. The streak continued, and with the entire nation rooting Joltin' Joe on, it all finally ended in Cleveland at 56 games, and appears today as one of the game's most untouchable records.
You never tell about streaks. They are things that happen. You don't know how, but I must say that I was very fortunate. As Miller Huggins once said, he says you hit them where they ain't.
That same year, Boston left fielder Ted Williams carried a blazing bat and provided another hitting landmark. In 1941, Ted Williams led the major leagues with a .406 batting average, and no one has hit over 400 since. In the All-Star game that season, Williams came up with 2 out in the bottom of the ninth, and the American League trailing by a run. Ted Williams hit the most dramatic homer in the history of the Summer Classic, winning the game. A fitting blow for the man who would also lead the majors in home runs. In the 1941 World Series, Mickey Owen became a household name. The Brooklyn Dodgers had seemingly evened the series against the Yankees at 2 games apiece as Tommy Henrich struck out. But catcher Mickey Owen let the pitch get by. Henrich was safe at first, and the Yankees had new life. Joe DiMaggio singled. Charlie Keller doubled, and soon 4 runs came in, all with 2 out in the ninth. And the Yankees went on to capture another World Series. But the delight of baseball fans would soon simmer. In the grim shadow of World War II, baseball continued despite the absence of most of its top stars. Then in 1946, ball players returned from the war, and fans flowed to the parks in record numbers, eager to take part once again in the great American game. And when World Series time came around that year, 2 1946 MVPs met head-to-head, Ted Williams and Stan Musial. Williams had come back from the war to resume a career that would result in a lifetime .344 batting average and 521 home runs. Williams' rival, Stan the Man Musial, rose to stardom during the war years and stayed on top as he hit over 300 for 16 consecutive seasons while winning 7 batting crowns. But the 1946 Red Sox-Cardinals series is remembered for another name. 7th game, score tied, last of the 8th. and Enos Slaughter, playing with a broken elbow, leads off. A single to center. Two Cardinal batters try to advance Slaughter, but fail. The stage is set for one of baseball's most famous base running efforts, as Harry Walker doubles to right, and Slaughter, never hesitating, races all the way from first to give the Cardinals a 4-3 advantage. This play is remembered as Slaughter's race from first on a single, but it was Walker's hit scored a double, which got the run home.
Well, you know, people make that a great play, but, you know, to me, that was just another play in baseball as far as I was concerned. You know, in that ball game, in an earlier game, Mike Gonzalez had stopped me on a bad relay throw coming in from the outfield, and we lost that ball game. But, you know, another run can change the complexion of a game all the way around. So Ed Adair told me, he says, if you get in a situation again and it's 2 men out and you think you can score, you go ahead and gamble, and I'll be responsible for that. Well, you know, in his 8th inning with the score tied, Dominic DiMaggio had doubled off the screen in right field to tie the score. Well, when he didn't go back to center field, so it had a boy by the name of Leon Culberson, but he's not the outfielder that Dominic DiMaggio was. He was a great little outfielder. Well, when Harry Walker hit this ball and I was running, I said to myself, I can score. When I rounded second, the ball was just hitting the ground out in left center. And from then on, I never looked up. All I was looking for was home plate. And when I saw Roy Partee take 2 or 3 strides in front of the plate, I knew I was home free. I didn't even have to slide, but in my whole career, when I thought that was going to be a play on me, I always try to hit the dirt. By doing that, you save your legs and not have a broken ankle or a broken leg.
In Boston's final inning, it all comes down to pinch hitter Tom McBride. Harry the Cat Burkeen delivers the pitch that earns him his 3rd series victory and the Cardinals their 6th world championship. That last out marked the end of one chapter of baseball history and the beginning of another.
An important occurrence of the decade of the 1940s is not that difficult a situation. All you have to do is go back to the mid-40s when Jackie Robinson was playing in Montreal. And in 1946, in the minors, there was a feeling that Robinson might very well be the first black in the history of Major League Baseball.
The following year, 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first modern-day black in the major leagues. Brooklyn Dodger president Branch Rickey had carefully selected Robinson with the support of Ford Frick, National League president. Everyone knew that Robinson's task would not be easy. Jackie represented not only generations of great black ball players who had been denied entry into baseball, but also the aspirations of his entire race. No better choice could have been made. Robinson's combination of courage, determination, and strength was a model to all.
If you want to be serious, it not only turned baseball around, but when Mr. Rickey signed Robinson in 1946 to go to Montreal, there was not a black player in professional basketball. There was not a black player in professional football. And now look at your screen. People talk about color television. You look at a sports event now, it's black and white. And also that fed down into the South, into the colleges, and into the high schools. And you just don't have athletic events now in the United States without whoever can best carry the ball or hit the ball or throw the ball. And Mr. Rickey and Robinson did it.
You remember the problems that Jackie Robinson had in integrating baseball. You're reading about pitchers throwing at his head, ball players flying in bases, spitting in his face, guys trying to spike him. And but when Jackie talked, he always felt like he was a little alone, a lonely person, like he was on the team, but he wasn't there. And then in Philadelphia that one day when Ben Chapman, they threw the black cat on the field and they yelled out. And then you saw Pee Wee Reese walk over to Jackie and put his arm around him, stand on second base. And that picture went around the world, and every black person saw it, took Pee Wee Reese to heart. Says, that white Southern is trying to make Jackie feel at ease.
And when it came time for the 47 World Series, Jackie Robinson and the Dodgers were there, led by manager Bert Schotten. The Yankees of manager Bucky Harris had taken the American League pennant, and an old intra-city rivalry was once again resumed. Ironically, the two best moments of the series had no effect on its outcome. Bill Bevins, who had gone only 7-13 during the season, pitched the fourth game for the Yankees. And in the ninth inning, he was 2 outs away from an unthinkable dream. The first no-hitter in World Series history. Here's how he recalls those final moments.
Perillo came up, and I got a little careless and walked him on a pitch I almost threw away. It made me a little sick to my stomach putting a runner on. The next batter was Jorgensen, and when he popped out to first base, that made it 2 away. Reeser came up, and Gianfrido went in to run for Perillo. I was 2-1 on Reeser when Gianfrido stole second, so we decided to walk Reeser. We put the winning run on first to set up a force play. I knew they'd send Cookie Lavagetto up to pinch hit. I watched him hit before and had instructions on how to pitch him. I pitched him where I wanted to, high and fast. Now I had a strike. I thought I'd waste a pitch, but he didn't give me a chance to go that far. When he hit that ball, I felt empty. I was backing up the plate when that second run come in. I realized I'd lost the ball game. First you lose a no-hitter, and then you turn around and lose the ball game. DeMage came up beside me and said, "Tough luck, Bill."
The Yankees had it tough again in the 6th game, trailing by 3 runs with Joe DiMaggio at bat and 2 men on. Dodger defensive replacement Al Gianfrido makes one of the great catches in series history and preserved a Dodger victory that evened the series at 3 games apiece.
In old Yankee Stadium, I should say, why I was playing Joe to pull down left field line. Bert Shotton, who was our manager, told me to play him to pull, and he moved me down along the line, pretty close to the line. Well, as you know, the bullpen was 415 feet away in left center field, and Joe hits the ball to the bullpen gate, and that's when I had to put my head down and run. I looked over my left shoulder once, didn't know whether I was going to catch up with it or not. When I looked over the second time, well, I knew I had a chance to catch the ball.
But despite Lavagetto's double and Gianfrido's grab, it was the Yankees who would celebrate the 7th game and another World Series triumph. In 1948, as more black ball players entered the majors, Roy Campanella joined the Dodgers, beginning a 10-year career that would result in 3 MVP awards, and later, election to the Hall of Fame. That same year, Cleveland's Larry Doby, the American League's first black player, hit .301, helping the Indians win only the 2nd pennant in their history.
I think the biggest highlight was 1948 when we won the pennant. And a fellow by the name of Steve Gromek pitched a certain game, and I was lucky enough to hit a home run to win the game. And, of course, after the game was over, we embraced each other. And that kind of a picture was taken, and it was sent all around the country with a black and a white embracing each other. The first time it ever happened in Major League Baseball. And I kind of feel real good about that. And I think that moment was the greatest moment for me, because you're talking about dealing with human beings, and you're talking about after baseball is over, you still have to deal with human beings. So that was a great thrill for me.
It had been a great year for Cleveland. The Indians finished the season tied with the Boston Red Sox and reached the World Series by defeating the Red Sox in the American League's first pennant playoff. Owner Bill Veeck's Indians also set a Major League attendance mark of 2.8 million in their spacious municipal stadium. The leaders of the Indians were player-manager Lou Boudreau, who hit .355, right-hander Bob Lemon, who had his first of 7 20-win seasons, and rapid Robert Feller, who'd set a single-season strikeout record 2 years earlier and would pitch 3 no-hitters and 12 one-hitters in his career.
I think Walter Johnson was the greatest pitcher in Major League history, the greatest strikeout artist. He didn't have a curveball. He was the fastest pitcher in history. And after Walter Johnson, I could consider Bob Feller was one of the better ones.
When I joined Cleveland, I was an infielder, and I was awed by Bob Feller and the guys that were on the staff then. And then when I became a pitcher, well, Mel Harder was my coach, and he taught me, you know, the things that he had learned over 20 years. And when I was a center fielder, before I became a pitcher, my first trip into Yankee Stadium playing center field, and when Joe DiMaggio ran off after we made our first outs, and I went out and stood in center field, it was hard to really believe that I was standing in the same cleat marks as Joe DiMaggio just left.
The Boston Braves were the Indians' opponent in the series, and they too had impressive talent, like Warren Spahn, who in his third full season showed the form that would make him the National League's all-time leading left-hander with 363 wins. Spahn was complemented by right-hander Johnny Sain, who led the majors with 24 victories. Thus, the two Brave aces gave rise to the famed refrain, Spahn and Sain, and pray for rain. In Game 1, Feller and Sain pitched shutout ball until the 8th inning, when Feller and shortstop Boudreau tried to pick off Phil Macy at second. Macy was called safe, but a nation of fans who never saw the play argued he was out. Tommy Holmes later drilled a single to score Macy as the Braves won 1-0. Despite Feller's loss, Cleveland went on to win the World Series, although seemingly forgotten by millions of Bob Feller fans who blame the fact that he never won a series game on the disputed call at second. All the Indians, however, were content to celebrate their second World Championship.
When we look back on all of it, the 1940s will most be remembered for the breaking of the color barrier and, of course, the great moments of Larry Doby and Jackie Robinson. There were some great Cleveland teams as they win their second World Championship. They would not be a major force again until the 50s. And next time, we'll take a look at the 1950s in Major League Baseball.